What happens when the man who taught a whole generation how to dance has to learn how to mourn?
When celebrity shines a light on your deepest suffering. Twice in his life, John Travolta has reached the top of the music world, making $20 million each movie and having his visage on billboards all over the world. But he has also stood at 3 deathbeds, clutching the hands of the people he loved most as they died. 2 Academy Award nominations, 5 decades of great performances, and a fortune of $250 million. None of it could keep him from the losses that would shape him more than any role ever could. This isn't a narrative about the glitz and glitter of Hollywood or being famous. This is a story about a man who learned that no amount of applause can cover up the sound of a last heartbeat. John Travolta has learned something that most of us will never understand: how to make music that will last forever.
Sometimes just living is the best performance, music, of all. Sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is get up every morning and decide to keep going. John Joseph Travolta was born on February 18, 1954, in Englewood, New Jersey. He was the youngest of 6 kids. Born into a family where hopes had to compete with unpaid music bills. Salvatore, his father, had played semi-professional football in the past. But those days of greatness were long gone. Music, recollections. He sold tires now. Every night, he came home with black rubber stains on his hands and tiredness written all over his face. Helen Cecilia Burke, his mother, sang with the Sunshine Sisters on radio shows that brought music into homes across the country. But she had given up that music platform for a high school classroom where she taught acting to teens who didn't always like her. The Travolta family didn't have much money. It was hard to see. John, who was little, watched his parents dance. The cautious planning of how to make ends meet. Dinner meant being careful with how much you ate and not going back for seconds. It was a treat to have new clothes, but they didn't come around very often. His older brother's hand-me-downs came already worn, with the shapes of other bodies and fantasies. The family lived in an Irish-American neighborhood where people fought all the time, where the cold of winter got through flimsy walls, and where the future seemed like something that occurred to other people. But Helen Travolta had something that no amount of money could take away. She could see. She recognized something in her youngest kid that went beyond their small dwelling and empty bank account. She told him in those early years that ability was the great equalizer and that the stage didn't care where you lived or how much money your father made. She informed him that being impoverished would only last for a short time, but being normal would last forever. Those comments stuck with John like seeds waiting for the ideal time to sprout. When John was 16, he did something that would have scared most parents. He got up from his desk at Dwight Moraro High School during his junior year and left the normal course. He quit school because he didn't want to be safe. His parents were surprisingly supportive of him. He would never forget how intensely his mother gazed at him, and what she said to him became the guiding principle of his life. She told him, "If this is what you want, you have to give it your all. There is no backup plan or safety net. You either succeed or become a warning story." Those words drove him. John crossed the Hudson River into New York City with just enough money to last him a week. He slept on floorboards that smelled like mold and broken dreams. He tried out for everything, taking rejection after rejection like terrible medicine he had to take to stay alive. He got a part in a tour with Grease. Not as Danny, the main character, but as Duty, a minor guy in the background. He made his Broadway debut in Over Here, a show that didn't last long and didn't leave much of an impact on theater history. He did odd occupations that made him feel less and less dignified every day. His fingertips became numb as he handed out brochures on frigid New York streets where the wind sliced through his flimsy jacket. He hauled gear for shows that paid nearly nothing, and his back hurt and his pride was hurt. He sung for crowds that didn't pay any attention to him, and their eyes glazed over while he poured his heart out on modest stages. He did TV ads that just ran once and then went away. He took any job that came his way, since saying no would mean going hungry, and going hungry would mean admitting failure. But he continued going because stopping would have meant proving his mother incorrect. And that was a truth he couldn't handle. Every rejection gave me strength. Every door that was closed made him want to knock on the next one. He was toughening up his soul, which would help him get through the hard times ahead.
Then came 1975, and everything changed.
Welcome back.
Carter was the first show on TV, and John Travolta, who played the lovable idiot Vinnie Barbarino, became famous overnight at the age of 21.
Girls yelled his name.
His face was on the covers of magazines at grocery stores all around the U.S. He put out a song called Let Her In that reached number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 for the first time in his life. John could breathe without the heavy weight of being poor on his chest.
But being famous may be bad. Travolta met Diana Hyland in 1976 while filming the TV movie The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. She was 41 years old. Sophisticated and worn down by life. He was 22 years old.
A young man who suddenly became famous.
Even though there was an 18-year age difference between them, she played his mother in the movie.
They were head over heels in love.
"I've never loved anyone more than I love you," Travolta would say years later. "I thought I was in love before, but I wasn't.
I was drawn to her from the first time we met.
We were like two crazy people who couldn't stop talking on stage.
It turned romantic after a month.
They couldn't be apart.
They ran away to Palm Springs, Big Bear, and New York. Diana's son from a previous marriage, who was still a child, is joining them."
Travolta thought he had found his soulmate. He picked out a house for them.
They were going to move in together as soon as he was done filming his next movie, Saturday Night Fever. Diana Hyland was fading, but the future looked bright and never-ending.
2 years before they met, she had had a mastectomy.
The cancer was already spreading across her body. 2 weeks before she died, she didn't know for sure that she was going to die. Later, as he was filming Saturday Night Fever and becoming the biggest star in the world, Travolta said this. They talked on the phone every night, and with each call, her voice got quieter and his desire got stronger. He left the movie site and rushed back to Los Angeles the day before she died, when it was clear that she would die. They strolled through the garden together. She stroked flowers that would never bloom again. He gripped her hand like it would halt time. They talked about little things because the big things were too awful to say.
Diana Hyland died in John Travolta's arms on March 27, 1977.
"I could feel her breath leave her," he whispered years later, the recollection still fresh. He was 23 years old, on the verge of becoming a superstar, and holding the woman he loved as she died. At that time, he realized that success and sadness are not the same thing.
They are two of a kind.
John donned a white suit to Diana's memorial ceremony that they had picked out jointly for a trip to Rio de Janeiro that they would never take. Later, he stated, "The hardest 10 weeks of my life." He lived by working, promoting Saturday Night Fever, and being the person the world wanted him to be. And Saturday Night Fever was like a cultural bomb that went off. The picture of Travolta in a white polyester suit with his arm raised to the sky became a symbol of a whole period.
The Bee Gees soundtrack sold a lot of copies. Travolta was nominated for his first Academy Award.
Then Grease came out in 1978 and made around $400 million around the world.
It made more money than any other live-action movie musical ever. John Travolta was everywhere by 1980, thanks to Urban Cowboy.
But the price was too high. His physique slumped under the constant pressure to do more movies, interviews, and performances.
He was sad about Diana and yet quite famous at the same time. There wasn't enough time to grieve properly.
The world wanted him to dance, grin, and be happy.
He danced, then. He grinned.
He masked his pain under dance moves and sequins, putting on a show of happiness while his heart bled in secret. Then the descent started, and it was worse than anyone could have imagined.
One after another, the movies started to fail. Moment by Moment in 1978 was a huge failure at the box office and among critics. The movie Two of a Kind did not do well at the box office in 1983.
Everyone was let down that he stayed alive in 1983 despite being famous.
Critics ripped Perfect apart in 1985, and it appeared like they enjoyed watching him fail.
Every failure made him less sure of himself than he had been only a few years before. The empty cinemas and terrible reviews weren't the worst things that happened. People still talk about the positions he turned down. the chances he missed while he was making what felt like safe choices. Richard Gere became a star because to American Gigolo. An officer and a gentleman went to Richard Gere and made him famous. Splash went to Tom Hanks and started a new kind of career. At the moment, each choice made perfect sense, but each one turned out to be a squandered chance that would haunt Travolta for years. John Travolta was no longer a star by the end of the 1980s. He was a remnant of a bygone era, a punchline in late-night monologues, and a cautionary story told on movie sets about the dangers of being too proud and making bad choices. It was like the experts in 1989 never existed since they were so completely ignored. His career was not simply having a hard time, it was in shambles. The producers stopped calling. The scripts that used to come in dozens are no longer coming at all. The man who had been the greatest light in Hollywood, who had made people dance and fall in love, was now gone. He was still alive and still talented, but the business had moved on without him. Some people carry pain like a badge, Travolta stated years later. I carry it in the intervals between my heartbeats. Then, in 1989, Who's Talking came out. A romantic comedy about a baby that talks and made $297 million. It wasn't a resurrection, it was just a lifeline. He wrote other books. He drifted during the early 1990s, hoping for anything to happen. Then Quentin Tarantino called. Tarantino wanted Travolta to play Vincent Vega, a hitman who was addicted to heroin in Pulp Fiction. For 6 months, Travolta thought about it. He was in pain. He said a prayer. In the end, he said yes. Not only did Pulp Fiction bring his career back to life, it changed the regulations completely. Travolta's acting was a masterclass in how to handle pandemonium. His dance with Uma Thurman reminded everyone that he still had charm. He and Samuel L. Jackson had great chemistry. The movie earned the Palme d'Or at Cannes. Travolta got a second nomination for an Academy Award. He was back all of a sudden, and it was impossible. Get Short. Face Off. Primary colors for a wonderful 10 years. He charged $20 million for each movie. He had done something that almost no one else does. He had come back to life. But resurrection always comes with a cost. Travolta married actress Kelly Preston in 1991. He found not only love but also a safe place with Kelly. They had 3 kids together, the first of whom, Jett, was born in 1992. Ella Blue was born in 2000, while Benjamin was born in 2010. Doctors said Jett had autism and had seizures. The family learned how to deal with this problem collectively, loving him very much. Then, on January 2, 2009, the family was on vacation in the Bahamas. Jett, who was 16 years old, was found unconscious in the washroom. He had a seizure and hit his head on the tub. I hurried down the stairs to help my son. Later, Travolta gave evidence. He did CPR on his son with all his might, but Jett was already dead. The symmetry was too much to take. Diana is 41 and Jett is 16. Both were sudden and terrible, and they both left John broken. Jett was the best son any parent could possibly ask for. In a statement, John and Kelly wrote, "We are heartbroken that our time with him was so short." Kelly gave birth to Benjamin a year later. He brought new life to the house. John claimed that they sought to make their lives better around this new happiness. Tried to get better from a wound that would never entirely heal. Kelly Preston died on July 12, 2020, at the age of 57 following a 2-year fight with breast cancer. With a very heavy heart. John reported that my lovely wife Kelly has lost her fight with breast cancer. The pattern was too severe to be a coincidence. Diana died of breast cancer at the age of 41. Kelly died of breast cancer at 57. The cancer had taken away the 2 women he loved the most. John talked to 10-year-old Benjamin after Kelly died, and it shattered his heart. The youngster said in a whisper, "Because Mom died. I'm scared you're going to die too." John didn't lie to make him feel better. He told Ben, "I could die tomorrow." You could. Anyone can. It's a part of life.
You just have to do your best to live as long as you can.
John Travolta is 70 years old and resides in Ocala, Florida, where his huge estate has a private runway next to his house.
He has more than one plane.
He has a net worth of $250 million. But what makes him who he is now is not money, but strength.
He helps the Jett Travolta Foundation, which helps other families with autism and seizure issues. He is very devoted to raising Ella and Benjamin. He posts memorials to people he has lost to keep their memories alive in the digital era.
But his career has come to an end.
His last few movies made almost little money at the box office.
The business that once worshipped him has now forgotten about him.
There aren't any more roles. People are now more interested in younger people with new stories.
The applause stops.
Trophies gather dust. But the people you love and the times you shared with them last forever.
John Travolta's career has taken him from a tire shop in New Jersey to the top of the world and back down again. From holding a dying lover in her arms at 23 to burying her husband and son decades later. From being the king of disco to being forgotten to being a legend.
His story shows us that just being alive is a form of victory.
That love is worth the pain it brings. That dancers maintain going forward even when the music stops.
Thank you for watching this tale about a man who made us happy even though his heart broke over and over again.
Leave a remark with your comments if his journey has moved you.
And wherever you are tonight, I hope you have the strength to get through whatever happens. May you love even if you know you will lose. Keep dancing even when the music stops. We might all be able to keep going if John Travolta can after everything he's been through.